It's a Tuesday episode of Locked On Grizzlies. I've got some good news and some bad news, Locked On Grizzlies fans. The good news is the dynamic duo once again rides. Damichael Cole, Joe Mullinax with you for this episode of the podcast. The bad news is the Locked On NBA crew has put out one of the most diabolically evil lists in the history of lists. And there have been some terrible lists over the course of human history. This is one of the absolute garbageous lists. I don't even know if that's a word, garbageous? I'm creating new vernacular in the English language. I'm angry. This is Locked On Grizzlies. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Locked On Grizzlies. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mullinax, and yes, it is so good to be able to say one of your hosts because that means once again I am joined by my co-host, Damichael Cole. The sun shines a bit brighter, the birds sing a bit more sweetly. It is a better day when Damichael Cole and I are together on Locked On Grizzlies. Partner, it is good to see you. It is good to hear you. Life has been crazy the last few weeks for us. And it's wonderful to be back together, reunited, and it feels so good to Michael Cole. Commercial appeal.
It always feels so good, Joe, and it's timely in this case. I mean, we got a lot to talk about, and this is one of those episodes where I wouldn't want to do it by myself because I know my co-host he's gonna light the fire here, and I mean, I got some things I got to say too, Joe. I know you got some stuff to get off your chest, and that's what we're here for, honestly. Like we're here for Joe Mullinax to really and this is gonna be good because usually it's ESPN, and Joe, it got to the point where people probably started thinking you just had something against ESPN. So this, because this is going to be different, because these are people. I mean, shout out to the everydayers and people who've been following Locked On Grizzlies for a while, but a lot of the people who took part in what we're about to talk about are people who've probably either been on the show or you've seen us on the Locked On NBA podcast with some of these guys, or we've been on their podcast or whatever the case may be.
These are our colleagues. These are our own people. This is the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day that is doing this ridiculous work to us. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season has arrived. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel.com app to get started. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing. Be a part of our little corner of the universe, the little corner of the internet we like to call Locked On Grizzlies. Become an everydayer, hang out with Damichael and I each and every time an episode drops. And as I said on yesterday's show, we are back in the 5 days a week swing. Obviously, it's a busy time of year for me in particular, so closer to the ends of weeks, Damichael might be a little more alone than he usually is. I might be a little bit alone early on, especially as the preseason gets going. But we are going to be having those 5 episodes as best we can per week. And a heck of a way for us to be back together on this particular episode. Our own folks did it to us here, Damichael. So to remind everybody, or maybe if this is your first time checking out Locked On Grizzlies and you're just hearing about this for the first time, for about a month or so, maybe a little bit more than that, we at Locked On NBA have been working through a top 100 players list. Damichael had a ballot, I had a ballot. Everybody that was a part of the Locked On NBA family had a ballot. And we did our rankings, and it was a little bit tedious, I'm not going to lie, but it was a fun exercise. Tests your knowledge of the NBA at large when you do a ranking like this. And we submitted our votes, and the list went live on Monday afternoon. So over the next couple of episodes, we're going to talk about this list. I do just want to give everybody the full context. If you are on YouTube, you are now looking at the top 10 for the list. And we're not going to talk about the top 10 today because you're going to see what's going to draw the vitriol of myself and Michael Cole here momentarily. But the top 10 is Nikola Jokic, SGA, Giannis, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, and Jason Tatum. And there's a lot wrong with that top 10 that we'll talk more about tomorrow. But the main thing that I hope here on Locked On Grizzlies people notice, Damichael, is no John Morant, no Jaren Jackson Jr., right? Obviously, top 10 players in the NBA, even when Ja and Jaren are cooking with the most gas, they're probably not top 10, right? I think that's a fair, unbiased, not wearing Beale Street blue colored glasses way to look at these two guys, right?
Right.
Probably top 20-ish, right? That's what a logical person, surely somebody who gets paid to follow the NBA is going to be able to say, you know what, Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant, one of those two guys, probably a top 20 player in the NBA, right? Wrong, actually. Here is number 11 through 20 for those of you on YouTube. You can see it there if you're not on YouTube. 11, Kevin Durant. 12, LeBron James. 13, Tyrese Halliburton. 14, Anthony Davis. 15, Cade Cunningham. Because when you think that you want somebody that can go on a basketball court, you certainly say Cade Cunningham before John Morant. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Evan Mobley at number 16. Kawhi Leonard, number 17. Devin Booker of the mighty Phoenix Suns at number 18. Karl Anthony Towns, old cat, meow, at number 19. And Jalen Williams, J-Dub himself, old recency bias is his new nickname, number 20 for Jalen Williams. So hopefully you're following along with our list here. And you're thinking, oh, well, surely did Jaren Jackson Jr. retire? What about John Morant? Did he decide he was done playing basketball? He had a really cool shoe tour, and that was the peak of his career? Yeah, maybe that's the only rational explanation to Michael Cole. Wrong answer. Number 21 through 30, Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. Pascal Siakam of the Indiana Pacers. Again, still no Jaren Jackson Jr., still no John Morant. 23, Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero. What did Paolo Banchero want? Aside from a name contest. Number 24. James Harden.
Hold your cool on this one.
In the year of our Lord, 2025.
That's what
people
year it is.
That are paid to analyze the game of basketball rated James Harden ahead of Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren finally makes his debut on this list at 25. But there's more. Trae Young, number 26. Yeah, that's Trae Young, old icy Trae himself. Darius Garland. Apparently, the Cleveland Cavaliers are the
they're a super team. They're a super team based on
Darius Garland should have 30 points a game. He's the third best player on the team, and he's number 27. John Morant comes in at number 28. John Morant is the 28th best player in the National Basketball Association. John Morant, according to the Locked On NBA podcast universe, is the 28th best player in the entire National Basketball Association. I want to have, over the course of this season, and you know me well enough by now, Damichael Cole, I am petty enough to do this. I want to have every single member of this network on this podcast. And I want to demand that they tell me, I'm not going to, you can join in on this, partner. We can do this together, but I'm crazy enough to just, I'll do it myself if you're not willing to. I will demand, I want to know their ballot. And I want to know who voted for James Harden in 2025 ahead of John Morant, because that is absolutely insane.
Woo! I cannot believe that. I can't believe
James
that.
Harden.
Look, and I'm going to start with Jaren. I got to start there because I feel like, you know, what I always say when we have these conversations, Joe, say, okay, you think these guys need to move up? Who do you take off? And I think we have clear answers in our thinking for each of these guys. And specifically, like, you can, I guess you could say, you could dumb it down a little bit and go from the standpoint of positions, like with Ja, Trae Young, Darius Garland. Like with Jaren, Evan Mobley, terrific young player. I voted him Defensive Player of the Year, I believe, on my ballot.
Evan Mobley is number 16 on this list. 16? Number 16? Ahead of Kawhi Leonard? Because ahead of Karl Anthony Towns?
Because here's where I am, Joe. Because here's where I am. If we're talking Evan Mobley, Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr., I think most people would say Jaren is the better offensive player. I think that is where we are.
That shouldn't be outlandish at all.
Okay. Now, defensively, even if you believe Evan Mobley is the better defender, I don't think that there is any type of sizable gap between those two on the defensive end. You remember, you can go back as recent as late February, where Evan Mobley and Jaren Jackson Jr. were 1A, 1B for Defensive Player of the Year. So with all that being said, I mean, basically, how is he 16, Jaren Jackson Jr. 25? And I can't even look at you with a straight face and say Evan Mobley's 100% the better player.
It's not close. It's not close. It is not close. And we're going to talk more about this. If you haven't noticed, the structure is a little bit flimsy today because my brain is a little bit flimsy. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube. You can see crazy eyes. I've got crazy eyes. I am freaking locked in. You want to talk about Locked On Grizzlies? I am locked in on how angry this list makes me. And we're going to spend the next 20 or so minutes talking about that here on Locked On Grizzlies. But first, today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season has arrived, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel. It fits however I like to bet, like player props. I know we're talking about NFL betting right now, but apparently I need to run to the FanDuel app and place an MVP future bet on Evan Mobley because he's the 16th best player in the NBA. But actually, we're going to focus on the NFL, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting. Whether you're watching your team, like the Commanders, pulling out a big win, the Packers. We got a big game coming up, partner, on Thursday night.
Easy work. Packers money line.
We'll talk more about that. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays or Thursday nights here in a couple of nights on Thursday Night Football. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Evan Mobley is number 16 on this list. That is just unbelievable.
We're just getting started. That's just the first player we're dissecting. We got plenty more players to dissect, Joe.
The James Harden. Well, hold on. Yeah, let's go back to Evan Mobley. The guy in front of Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham. Now, I'm going to say this with love in my heart. Okay? Joy in my soul.
Joy in your soul.
Cade Cunningham somehow went from the most underrated player in the NBA to the most overrated player in the NBA in one season.
Happened fast, huh?
Life comes at you fast. Being underrated, which he absolutely was 365 days ago, and now being overrated. I refuse to believe. Again, I'm going to make it a point to have as many of these hosts on our show this year as possible. I'm going to say, where did you rank Cade Cunningham compared to John Morant? And I am going to laugh in the face of every single one of them that said that they had Cade Cunningham 13 spots ahead of John Morant. Because, again, we're talking about some of the most informed basketball people in media. That's the reason we believed in doing this list ourselves, because we are confident in what the Locked On NBA podcast network has become, right? Look at Locked On Grizzlies. You have the brilliant Damichael Cole and you have the crazy Joe Mullinax. We have a lot of fun here on this podcast. Surely we can put together a list that doesn't embarrass the entire podcast network. And yet, here we are talking about Cade Cunningham at number 15 in the NBA. Number 15. John Morant at number 28. How is this possible? The only thing that helps me understand, Damichael, whether it's Darius Garland, which is ridiculous, Cade Cunningham, James Harden, you talked about doing it positionally. The only thing that makes sense is that people are still holding against Ja the suspension. They're still holding against his availability in terms of injury, because the only way that you can make this argument is you assume that he's not going to play. But again, I'm gonna pull up a list here, Damichael. How many basketball games is Jason Tatum estimated to play this season? Is he going to play a lot of basketball this season in the 2025-2026 campaign?
No, but he's been a durable player over the course of his career.
But again, is he going to play? What about Tyrese Halliburton at number 13? He going to play a lot of ball this year?
No, he's not going to play a lot of ball.
He going to be on the court? No, he's not going to be on the ball. He's not going to be on the court very much, right? So why are we holding John Morant to a different standard? Why are we holding John Morant to a different standard? If we're giving Jason Tatum the benefit of the doubt, if we're giving Tyrese Halliburton the benefit of the doubt, John Morant has had some injury issues, but so those players also were currently injured. Yeah. So John Morant has, again, it's almost like he and Cade Cunningham have flipped roles. Now John Morant is somehow underrated in the eyes of our voters.
And that is a scary sight to me. I mean, Ja has kind of been a guy who, I mean, you go back to really his late Murray State and early in NBA, he's kind of been hyped up in a way, right? And then of course the suspension and things happen, and but now, I mean, this is beyond me. This is definitely beyond me. Ja Morant, with these names that we're seeing in front of him. I mean, Darius Garland is probably the wildest one of the group.
It is insane.
It's and James Harden. I mean, look, James Harden's a durable player, I think, as of late. Like, one thing that I like about him, he's played. He doesn't like to take games off, and you know, I'm old school when I think about these lists. Like, I like the guys who play both ways. I like the guys who want to say, "Hey, I'm playing the back-to-backs. I'm not sitting out because I got a sore, ankle, and they're leaving it up to me if I want to play or things like that." I like those guys that play through those things. And James Harden is one of those players. But like you said, Joe, in the year of our Lord, 2025, James Harden is. I don't want James Harden over the floor over Ja Morant.
It got me so confused. Like, did I misread the list?
I'm trying to be a perspective thinker. I'm trying to get into the brains of our colleagues, and there is the injury part. And then there is, if you look at, I'm sure, what some people do, they look at your numbers overall over the course of the season. And if you look at Ja Morant's numbers overall over the course of this past season, it wasn't his greatest season, so to speak. But if you go to the last couple months, that was 2022 Ja Morant. That was 2023 Ja Morant. You go to that playoff series against OKC, especially game 3. Everybody's going to be stuck on that game 3. Until they see OKC again. That was 2022, 2021, 2023 Ja Morant when he was an all NBA caliber player, so to speak. And I have no doubt in my mind, he's still that guy. It's just you have a new system now and things like that. So I guess they're more of the see it to believe it crowd when it comes to Ja Morant. And all right, I'll bargain with you, but it's like I can't look at myself and say, man, I'm going to put Paolo, in front of Ja Morant on a list, a guy who, as talented as he is, there's not a lot of playoff success, in there. Pascal Siakam, champion, terrific player, but I mean, two-way player. I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. James Harden, like we said at this point, he should be in front of all those guys. Should be in front of all of them. Simple as that.
When I saw the list, I wondered, did I read the Google form wrong? Like, are we ranking chicken wing eating at strip clubs? Is that how James Harden is in front? He'd be number 1 with a bullet on that list, right? Are we ranking, unique hairstyles and fun celebrations in New York's Madison Square Garden? Because Trae Young would absolutely be in front of Ja Morant in that list. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Tell me, I'm going to get the host of Locked On Hawks on this show. And I want to say, you tell me who you want on your team, Trae Young or Ja Morant. And I want them to say with a straight face, Trae Young. With a straight freaking face, that they would not trade Trae Young for Ja Morant right now. I don't know about you, partner. I could probably go into my DMs with some folks from Atlanta. I'm not going to name any names. And so when things were going poorly for old Ja Morant, and they're going, oh, maybe Trae Young for Ja Morant makes a lot of sense. Two fresh starts. Maybe we can pursue this endeavor. What do you think? Estimated box score. No, that's not how this works. You don't get to act now like Ja Morant is lesser than Trae Young. That's not how this works. Unbelievable to me that people have just forgotten what Ja Morant is capable of. It's unbelievable. We have such a short-term memory in this country. We have such a lack of ability to retain information long-term. It's what's the new flashy thing. It's what's the new shiny toy. Yeah. Oh, look, Cade Cunningham had a really good season. Oh, wow. He must be one of the 15 best players in the National Basketball Association. Oh, wow. Jalen Williams had an amazing NBA Finals. Oh, my gosh. He must be the second coming of Kawhi Leonard. Let's put him in the top 20 on this list. It's unbelievable. This is something that bothers me immensely about not just Locked On NBA, but society as a whole. We're going macro 40,000-foot view.
Yeah.
We struggle with being able to remember things. And clearly, our colleagues at Locked On NBA have forgotten who Ja Morant is. And I am very hopeful that Ja Morant is going to remind them over the course of the next 82 regular season games and hopefully postseason games after that of exactly who the hell he is. Because this is absolutely insane.
Yeah, this list basically says that Ja Morant is what I mean, I forget the number, but he's clearly not top 5 based on this list. I'm going to look at it real quick. You got 1, 2. I'm counting James Harden as a point guard. He is at this point of his career.
I mean, Luka Doncic is technically a point guard.
No, for sure. That's 3. And you got Tyrese Halliburton, Cade Cunningham. That's 5 right there before we even get to the top 10. I'll say Luka, Steph. That's 7. Jalen Brunson. That gives you 8. And I mean, do you consider Shea?
I'd say he's more of a scoring guard. I don't know.
But he's the primary ball handler,
that's
right?
Fair. That's fair.
That's 9 guys. It's 9 guys.
There are not 9 guys.
Ja Morant is the 10th. Ja Morant is the 10th ranked point guard in the NBA.
There are not 9 guys.
It was only 3 years ago. You can go look at it. And we talk about the ESPN rankings and stuff all the time. It was only 3 years ago. The guy was the 9th ranked player in ESPN's preseason rankings. I remember this because I asked him about it, and he said, "No, I'm aiming for higher than that." So he went from being the 9th best player to the 9th best point guard. 2 different lists, but still just, just to put things in perspective of why Joe is on the heater today.
When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, Ja Morant isn't the only Grizzlies player that got screwed over on this list. Damichael, a little bit earlier in the show, talked about Evan Mobley, Jaren Jackson Jr. We're going to close out this episode of the show just reminding everybody that maybe I'm taking crazy pills, but Jaren Jackson Jr. was in the running to make the All-NBA team, and apparently 10 guys magically got better than him between the end of that voting and where we are now on this list. Stick around here on Locked On Grizzlies. Welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. I am Joe Mullinax, hanging out with my good pal, my good buddy, Damichael Cole, Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal there in Memphis, Tennessee. I have been yelling for about, we've been on for about 20 minutes, probably about the 12 of the 20 minutes I've been yelling about how stupid some of these votes are. And again, I respect my colleagues. I want to stress that. Yeah. I'm not saying that they are bad people, right? Like, obviously they are fine human beings. I'm saying that their opinions about the Memphis Grizzlies are trash. And they should feel bad about having these trash opinions about
they
the
should
Memphis
be crying
Grizzlies.
Watching the show right now. And like, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry. I apologize.
And I know Matt and Wes of the Locked On NBA show, they had us bookmarked because they saw this list and they knew that I was gonna react a certain way. So hopefully I've lived up to the hype and then some. And we're not done yet. We still got about 8 minutes or so here, partner. And you talked about, bringing back up for the folks on YouTube, you see where Ja and Jaren fall. I had Ja in front of Jaren on this list. I don't think we've had a chance to talk, and we'll save it for tomorrow because obviously we have lots more to discuss here. I don't think you and I have had a chance to even talk about whether or not you had Jaren in front of Ja. I had Ja in front of Jaren, and I'm okay with Jaren being in front of Ja. I think you can make a logical basketball argument for that. It's not how I feel it, but again, I'm not going to say you have a trash opinion if that's how you feel. If you rank James Harden in front of either of those individuals, you have an absolutely trash basketball opinion. But Jaren being behind the names that he's behind, and again, you are an NBA awards voter, Damichael. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So you probably remember this better than me. Jaren didn't make All NBA, right? No, that was much ballyhooed because he was close, because that would have opened up Supermax for him, all that sort of stuff. Didn't have the best end to his season, but he was something like 17th, right? He was like the second to last guy, a couple spots away. Our ranking has him at 25. So that means that our voters have guys like Devin Booker, which again, that's we haven't even yelled about Devin Booker yet. Maybe I'll save that for tomorrow too. But you got guys like Devin Booker. You've got guys like, Siakam, again, the NBA Finals, recency bias, Paolo Banchero. I can't say Harden again because I'm just going to get so angry. Several of those guys were not in that mix compared to Jaren in terms of all NBA voting. So to me, the Ja I'm angrier about Ja, but I get it, if that makes sense. With Jaren, I'm less upset for some reason.
Yeah.
But it's more confusing because what more does Jaren have to do? He just had a career season. He just went out there and did a lot of really impressive things. And yet, number 25 in a season where he finished, 17th in all NBA voting, that doesn't compute for me.
Yeah, here's where I stand. Like when I hear the number 25 and Jaren Jackson Jr. just off the top of my head, Jaren Jackson Jr. 25th best player in the world. I'm saying it's not too bad. But at that point, I'm thinking that you have Ja Morant top 20. So I'm thinking, okay, Grizzlies, 2 players top 25. I mean, that's pretty good in the NBA. Like most teams have duos today, unless you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you got this amazing big three.
You've got Steph, Clay, and Draymond Green circa 2015. Let's ride, right? Cleveland Cavaliers are going to win 70 games.
They're going for it. Clearly, I mean, locked on is very high on the Cleveland Cavaliers. But the thing with Jaren Jackson Jr. disrespect, because I see that is our title. It is a segment, Jaren Jackson Jr. disrespect, and I think I got to figure it out, Joe. And I want your input here too. I think I figured out the whole Jaren Jackson Jr. Disrespect, and I'm going to use what Zach Kleiman said at the end of the season in the exit interviews about Zach Edey. And when he was speaking about Zach Edey, he was talking about playing him in certain situations and things like that. He basically said that Zach Edey's mistakes are loud. Like people can't help but see when Zach Edey makes these mistakes. So when he makes them, everyone's like, oh, but they don't see a lot of things, the smaller things that point guards and guys playing off the ball a lot do with misreads and, just the little minor mistakes with spacing and things like that these guys make over the course of games all the time. Defensive mistakes, all of it, off the ball, whatever. With Jaren Jackson Jr., there's been 2 notable flaws that have become so mainstream when it comes to his game that it has deflected the growth in his game in other areas. Number 1, it's the foul trouble. It's not a national televised Grizzlies game that goes on where you don't hear, oh, Jaren Jackson Jr. foul trouble. And then number 2 is the rebound. And it's a little bit different because this is more of like, me and Joe like to say social media isn't really reality, things like that. Like that's more of the trolling on social media I see when it comes to Jaren Jackson Jr. rebounding. But those 2 things in particular, his rebounding and his foul rates have not greatly improved over the course of his career. But Jaren still, whether it's become an all-around, sound defender, where even though his blocks are going down, his steals are going up, he has deflections, and he's still one of the best. When he's on the floor, the Grizzlies are a drastically better defense. That is still the case without him averaging 3 blocks a game, so to speak. And then on the offensive end, just look. It's left hand. It's right hand. It's top of the key. It's post-ups now. It's faced up from the mid-post. It's however you want it. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s offensive bag has greatly improved. And it's like, are they really noticing this much? Because if you go, I remember the Raw. I wasn't covering the team then. Well, I did actually cover some games Jaren's rookie year, now that I think about it. But he was not this polished offensive player at this point. And I'm okay with saying, you know what, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a decently polished offensive player. Now, there's some things, Joe talks a lot about, the assist numbers and the passing and things like that, the playmaking, and that can improve. But the point that I'm making here is the disrespect for Jaren Jackson Jr. has gotten so high because in his game, you could point out, oh yeah, that's the guy that's terrible with fouls. He's terrible with he's terrible with the fouls, and he's not getting any rebounds and things like that. But you got other guys who in front of him, like Pascal Siakam, for example, solid player. But what part of Spicy P's game is exactly great? Solid player now. Don't get me wrong, but what part of his game are you looking at that's great? He's solid in the mid-range. Like I like the way he can score in the mid-range, but I'm not looking at him in the mid-range saying that, he's in that DeMar DeRozan, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, that type of category, so to speak. So you can keep going on and on. Same thing with Paulo Banchero. Like, yes, the volume, the efficiency isn't all the way there for me yet. We ain't talking about Jaren Jackson Jr.'s efficiency on offensive end because he gets to it. He does it on both ends. So the point is, with those guys, the holes in their games aren't as loud. And that's the case. Joe, you can pull up the list real quick, like whether it's 11 to 20 or 20, the guys that are in front of Jaren, like you can go through the whole list of these guys, like a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know if this is a mainstream thing. Karl Anthony Towns has dealt with foul trouble just like Jaren pretty much over the course of his career, but we don't hear about it as much. And again, with this list, Pascal Siakam, Paolo Banchero, James Harden. Earlier in James Harden's career, the turnovers were kind of this whole big thing. But even though he still turns the ball over at a decent rate, we don't hear about James Harden's turnovers or Paolo Banchero's inefficiency with his mid-range and three-point shooting, or Pascal Siakam just not being a star. Like, he's a very solid number 2, but he's not a star. These guys got holes, and I think Jaren being a two-way player supplants them on my list. And then Evan Mobley, I already went down that rabbit hole. Like, it's been like this with Evan Mobley since he's come in the league. Like, everyone expected him to be the next Anthony Davis, and his offense is taking longer to get to where people want it to be, or whatever the case may be, and it's still not there. But that's 4 names right there that come to mind when I'm talking about the guys ranked in front of Jaren. So that puts him right there at top 20.
Absolutely ridiculous. I do have a theory, though. I do have a theory about why the Grizzlies got shafted so badly on this list, and I'm looking forward to sharing it on our next episode of Locked On Grizzlies. I'm going to put on my conspiracy theory cap, partner, and I think I've got it. I think I've got it figured out.
You got it figured out?
I think so. Plus, we're gonna take a look at other aspects of the list. You'll notice that we only talked about Ja and Jaren on this episode. Did any other Grizzly make the list? Should they have, like a Santi Aldama or somebody like that? We'll talk more about that and some other surprises on our Wednesday edition of the show. Still a lot more to unpack here, partner.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see, are there any other former Grizzlies on this list too? Because the Grizzlies have made, we talk a lot about like the revisionist moves and things that the Grizzlies have made. What else is on this list in terms of former Grizzlies? Like, we need to get into some of that too.
I can think of at least one who's almost certainly on the list, and
I think we all can.
Yes. But thank you so much for being with us on this edition of Locked On NBA, or Locked On Grizzlies, excuse me. The Locked On NBA Top 100 is here, if you didn't notice. It was voted on by the NBA hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network, who I promise are smarter than this list suggests. Our top 100 was formed by experts. They are experts, just not on the Grizzlies. We're your experts on the Grizzlies, and they cover these teams and players every day. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And again, you've got a lot of our reaction today. You're going to get a ton of our reaction here on Locked On Grizzlies tomorrow as well. We're excited to keep talking about this. And my saltiness aside, thank you to Nick and everybody that put together this list. I know it was very labor intensive, but it's a good first crack at it, except for the fact that clearly nobody watches the Memphis Grizzlies except for myself and Damichael Cole. But that's okay. That's why you're here, baby. That's why you're with us as an everydayer here on Locked On Grizzlies. You can trust Damichael. You can trust me. We're going to give you the truth. And the truth is, there ain't no way that there are 24 to 27 people in the National Basketball Association that are better than Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant. Ain't no way. I refuse to believe it. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing wherever you get podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube. Any and all options are good. Make sure you're with us tomorrow as we continue to break down this list, talking about former Grizzlies that are on it, or if any other current ones are in the mix, and my conspiracy theory about why Ja and Jaren are further down the list than they should be. Until then, stay locked in, Grizzlies fans. The dynamic duo will ride once more on Wednesday. But until then, have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll catch you next time on Locked On Grizzlies.